Do you know what's really weird? Seeing an Atari Jaguar game ported over to the PlayStation 1. Well, I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today we do the review of Tempest X for the PlayStation 1.
Second Opinion Games.
For those of you that don't know what Tempest was, it was an arcade game in the 80s using vector graphics, which were very far ahead of their time, and you shoot stuff. Well, a couple years later, it was released on the Atari Jaguar, and it was really, really good. It had quite a few modes in the Jaguar version, but I'm not talking about that here. I'm actually talking about the PlayStation version. So, jumping right into it, you have the traditional mode, which is a pretty close port to the arcade version. It looks pretty clean. It does have updated music and sound effects, and it gives you the pretty good feel of playing the original version of Tempest in the arcade. In the arcade, you had some knobs and dials to turn instead of a game controller, so you kind of lose something in translation there, but overall, it feels very good, and I'm happy they included this in this version of the game. Moving on, this is a bit of a two-player game. See, you also have Tempest Duel, which you could actually play by yourself in practice mode or play with a friend in two-player. If you're playing with a friend in two-player, well, you just try and take out the other person. If you're practicing, you're just practicing as you see here. Now, when you're shooting, you can take out your opponent. When you're not shooting, you have a little mirror up that can reflect the opponent's bullets back at him, or maybe even your own bullets back and forth. However, if you're in reflect mode, that means you're not shooting the critters that are coming to eat you. So, it's a bit of a game of chess. And it gets very, very strategic when playing with another person. However, I don't think the playtesters really did their job. Here on the flat plane level, you can see this looks really confusing and pretty much impossible. And it's very poorly done. I mean, seriously, did they really pass this on the playtesting stage? I really don't think so. I don't think they even playtested this at all. They were more occupied with the main game. The main game and the star attraction here is Tempest X. Now, graphically, this is a bit of improvement over the Atari Jaguar version. The music, thank goodness for the CD sound, because it is spot on and really well at that. Also, the power-ups are frequent and very rewarding here. And there's some bonus stages too, and if you complete them, you will warp ahead 5 stages. I swear some of them were very broken on the Jaguar, and I haven't experienced a broken effect here on the PlayStation, so at least they fixed that. Also, they come in 2 flavors, flying through rings and doing a weird tunnel thing that I can never seem to get the hang of. Trying to get the high score is really difficult, and you're really going to want to get the high score for reasons I'll explain here in a bit. And there's some cheats out there on the internet, but you're mostly going to have to rely on your pure skill. I actually got the high score myself without relying on any cheats whatsoever, and it took me a little bit of time, but I am a bit of a Tempest person myself, and I love the game, so I just jumped in, hammered out a whole bunch of levels, made up to level 30, and got the high score. Hooray for me, right? Well, then you get to put in 5 initials instead of just 3, and then you could unlock 2 more modes. Now, Tempest X itself is pretty good. However, the controls always feel a little bit off, and sometimes it's hard on the eyes. You could also put in a cheat for trippy mode, which is insanely hard on your eyes and pretty much unplayable, but if you're doing a whole lot of meth or acid or something, then this would be freaking amazing. Jumping back to the real game, sometimes it just gets annoying how much stuff is flying at you and you have to look past it. It's a bit of a distraction, but eventually you get the hang of it and you crush that high score into oblivion. Overall, the Tempest X portion is really good. It doesn't control as well as the Jaguar version, but is fairly good. So what do you get for your troubles of getting the high score? Well, it unlocks a nerfed mode of Tempest 2000, a Jaguar port. Now, this really isn't the same game as the Jaguar version. It seems to be missing a lot, and it still reuses the sound effects and music from Tempest X, so it's really not an exact port of the game. Also, it seems to be missing some of the cheats that the Tempest 2000 Jaguar version has, so there's no weird sheep noises in this game. And it just doesn't feel right. As a matter of fact, sometimes the levels don't look right either, like this plane again. It doesn't seem right. My character isn't even on the screen. Now, you can hit the select button and it will pull back the camera. And the other versions, it offers the same, but that still doesn't feel right to me. But maybe I'm just a Tempest nerd. So, what else do you get when you get that high score? Well, you unlock Tempest Plus mode. Now, on the Jaguar, this was my favorite mode because it was 2-player co-op, and it was pretty much just Tempest 2000 with all the particle effects and everything like that as well. Now, Tempest Plus mode here is the same. Awesome 2-player action. If you don't have a friend to play with you, that's okay. Turn on the AI droid, and it'll help you out and be super great. I love this version of the game. However, on the PlayStation version, they got rid of all the power-ups and crazy particle effects. Unless you get a 1-up, then particle effects come at you. But it's a little too late there. Now it feels really, really boring, now that you don't have all that crap flying at your face that the previous versions and Tempest X had. So they took what was my favorite part of this game, and they nerfed it down into not very fun at all. I guess this version would be the absolute most fun if you were playing with another person, but it still feels bland. They toned down the sound effects as well, so it really doesn't feel right. It's almost like the PlayStation's version of Tempest 2000 and Tempest Plus were deliberately dumbed down to make Jaguar owners feel really bad, or so people that don't have a Jaguar can say, why would you want to play those games? They're really not that good. Or maybe it makes Tempest X players feel superior because they know that they have the best game because they unlocked the other versions from the other console on their system, and they know that those versions suck. Well, they didn't on the Jaguar, and here they do. Overall, Tempest X isn't a bad game, it's just not as good as the Jaguar, which is really weird for me to say. I mean, how many people can say that a Jaguar game was better than a PlayStation 1 game when they both came out on the same system? Honestly, I'm not kidding you. Get it for the Jaguar. On the PlayStation 1, it's just okay. On the Jaguar, it's a masterpiece. But that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. Well, I hope you liked this review. I spent quite a bit of time on it trying to unlock that high score, so please give me a like for all my hard work. I did put in quite a bit of time here. Also, I have quite a few top 10s I really want to do with hidden gems on the Sega Saturn or maybe the GameCube. So I want to hear from you. What is your top 10 favorite game on the Sega Saturn, the Atari Jaguar, or the GameCube? I really want to know some hidden gems out there too, so feel free to let me know what they are. And until later, I'll see you again, guys.